Welcome to our webcast edition on clicktohouston.com. We continue to track Hurricane Ida as it is set to make landfall in Louisiana in just a few hours. We do have crews on the ground. We'll get to them in just a bit. But first, let's check in with Cambrell Marshall. He's been tracking this all morning long, and we want to get the latest. Can you tell us?
I can tell you that it's pretty much sustained its strength. It's been at 150 miles per hour sustained winds since very early this morning. It continues to have that kind of strength. It is continuing to move on its track of northwest. The difference is over the last couple of hours, it's slowed down its forward movement a bit. Now it's moving to the northwest at 13 miles per hour. Remember, early on and through the last 24, 48 hours, it's been 16 miles an hour, moving pretty quickly. Now it's at 13 miles an hour, and it's now really, technically, it doesn't make landfall until the center of the eye crosses land, but the reality is, there's some of that happening right now in terms of actually the eye of that storm actually making some landfall in like Terrebonne Parish, for example, in the southern part of Louisiana. Forecast models call for it to decrease in its strength to a Category 2 by the time we get to later on tonight. But we're still talking about 105 mile per hour sustained winds, and that's in the center of the storm as it moves on up. And the dirty side, of course, is all of this, which includes New Orleans, as it moves on up to the north and then takes a more northerly turn over the next 24 to 48 hours. By the time we get to Tuesday, it's going to be in Tennessee, moving across the United States, heading toward the eastern United States, where it's going to be tropical storm force kind of winds and a depression as it slides on across. Nasty weather for a lot of those folks. In terms of what's going on, the main concern is a surge right now, as the storm is right around this area here, the eye of the storm here. And so the surge is concerning because it's relatively deep there. And we'll have to keep an eye on all that's going to be happening. Unfortunately, a lot we won't know until the storm passes, and then we'll be able to get a sense of what's going on. Here's exact track radar right now. You can see where it is, the center, the clear part of this, about at 20 miles an hour across from the diameter of the storm, or the eye of the storm, about 20 miles across. You're going really close, and you can see right now, a lot of this is about ready to cross just south of Grand Isle. Looks like Grand Isle will miss the eye, but the bad news is for them, this part is the strongest part of the storm. Right around, when we talk about the 150 mile per hour winds, we're not talking about this part, we're talking about right in here. So Grand Isle's in the position where it's likely to get a lot of that heavier rain and the high winds at the same time. And this is where the surge is going to be a problem as well. All of this moving in this direction. That's why we have that 6 to 10 foot surge that's going to be going on in that area. So we'll continue to watch that going forward here. I know we have some folks out there that are on the ground in New Orleans, which is just a few miles to the north, about 50 miles or so to the north of where that center of the storm is. And so for the next many, many hours, all of New Orleans and all of the population between here and there is going to be involved in this strong storm. And it looks like Homa may be online to catch the same thing, the eye of the storm, and some of the strongest storms around that eye of the storm as well. Sophia?
That eye of the storm headed towards the downtown New Orleans area. That is where we're going to toss things over to our Brandon Walker. Brandon, folks, they're already feeling the effects. We can see the winds there. You're bracing yourself. Also, the emotions of this hurricane on this day, the 16th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina.
Yes, indeed, Sophia. So where we are here, downtown New Orleans, Canal Street, we're seeing our first major punch from Ida. Cambrell Marshall mentioned the sustained winds that they're witnessing points west there, Terrebonne Parish, whatnot, the river parishes, which will see direct landfall from the eye of that storm. Where we are here on the dirty side, New Orleans, we will see some significant wind and rain churning around, as we're seeing right now with one of those major gusts, and they're coming more frequently as we get closer and closer to this storm making landfall here this afternoon. Very quiet here through the streets of downtown. You'll see the occasional tourist walking around her, so you see that group of people there across the street. They've been there all morning in the awning there in the garage area of the Marriott Hotel. But as conditions here deteriorate, I'm pretty sure you'll be seeing them going inside. We're going to go take cover too, Sophia, but here's a look at current conditions right now in downtown New Orleans. We're seeing a major gust of wind from Ida as she's beginning to wash here ashore. Back to you.
Only going to get worse as the eye of the storm gets closer. Brandon, be safe out there. Now let's take a look. We're going to head things over to our Robert Arnold. He is live on the south side of Lake Pontchartrain. Robert, some wind, some rain I'm seeing in your live shot. What can you tell us about that area?
Well, we're not getting gusts now. We're just getting these sustained winds that are only intensifying. It's getting to that point where the rain is starting to come at us sideways. Feels like little darts embedding in your skin. There's the conditions on Lake Pontchartrain. It's only getting choppier. Those waves are getting a little bit higher with each passing minute, and the water is creeping closer and closer to the levee that we're standing on. Now, the water is not expected to top this levee at all, but this is an indication of things to come. The winds have already reached the point that they're closing the causeway that goes across Lake Pontchartrain. Starting to see some of that debris pushing closer to shore as well. As we were driving from downtown New Orleans to Lake Pontchartrain, we were starting to see debris on the road. I mean, this is very early on into the storm. We have a long way to go, and we're already starting to see debris on the road. We saw street lights flashing. That means power's out. We're getting word of power outages, and we're hearing curfews go into effect throughout South Louisiana. Already all of the southern parishes have instituted curfews, and today the last ones are starting at noon, so in just about an hour, and those are not going to be relaxed until after this storm passes. So look at this. We're at the very beginning, and this storm is only going to intensify from here. Reporting live from New Orleans, Robert Arnold, KPRC 2 News.
All right, Robert, thank you for that live report. And of course, you be safe as well. Talking about those winds, and this is just the beginning of it. The gusts, he was saying not getting a lot of gusts just yet, but those wind gusts, we're talking 185 miles per hour, Cambrell.
Yeah, the hurricane hunters have been able to pick some of that up. We won't see some of that on the ground, but they've been able to pick some of that up in the elevation. And so that's just an example of how strong this storm is. We talk about the 16th anniversary of Katrina. And there was at one point, Katrina was a Category 5 before it actually made landfall as a Category 3. And of course, it was in a different path. It was a little bit farther to the east as it came on inland. A lot has happened since then, as Brandon Walker's been telling us all morning long. The pumps and the levees have been really upgraded with billions and billions of dollars of support to make sure that what happened in Katrina doesn't happen again. Now, Gustav had a very similar pattern to what Katrina had, and it came across. And those pumps and those levees, they weathered the storm really well. In this case, we expect that the same sort of pattern is going to be, by the time we get it all analyzed, it's going to be very similar to the path of Gustav, but stronger. 4 going to a 2 by 7 o'clock tonight, and then as it moves on up and inland, it's going to be causing a lot more problems. We talked about this, deeper water here as this storm is really churning here at 150 miles. When you see, I'm going to put the radar up in just a second. Once you see the motion of that, you can understand why this area is an area of concern as far as the surge is concerned. And it also extends out here. Hurricane force winds extend out from the center of the storm about 50 miles. Tropical storm force winds extend out from the center of the storm about 150 miles. So that's impacting a wide area. The hurricane hunters were out there earlier today, and they were flying through the center of this storm, going back and forth, back and forth. That's what their job is. They were able to do that. And as it came closer, it continues to do that, sliding in, picking up whatever kind of information it can pick up. And that's going to go into giving us more information about what's going to be happening over the next several hours as it moves closer to shore here. So Grand Isle is about here, picking up a lot of the heaviest rain and the heaviest winds as this storm continues to move to the northwest. Not surprising, aerial flood advisory until 12:30, and that's going to extend. I guarantee that's going to extend because these bands keep coming. The Gulf has got plenty of moisture out there, plenty of fuel. Temperatures are up 88, 89 degrees of the Gulf water temperature, and that's going to help fuel all of this. That's why we have the tornado watch in place too, the big watch box, all a part of the eastern side of the storm. We talk about the dirty side all the time. You can very easily see that this is the area where that is in place. It just moves on up. This will be changing as this storm slides on off to the north and west and goes up to the north. This box is going to change as well. But for right now, we have the tornado watch until 7 o'clock tonight, because the movement of the storm is expected to be rather slow as it moves on up to the north and the northwest. So here's the eye. Grand Isle is right here. It looks like Grand Isle is going to miss the eye, but this is the strongest part of the storm right here. The eye is down here to the south, moving to the northwest, going toward Homa. And so this area, Galeno, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly because, you know, Cajuns do it a little bit differently, but this area is going to also catch the northern part of this eye. And all of the strong storms, the rain and the surge associated with this part. Brandon was talking with someone earlier, and they were talking about why they were going to stay. Remember, the surge right here, deeper water, surge coming up, this area is going to be really, really heavily impacted. Power outages will be not just hours, not just days, but weeks in some of these areas because of what we're seeing here. Not only the rain, but the wind as well, which is knocking down poles and that sort of thing. So about 9 miles, now it's even less than that. I put this in here from the center. As I said, technically, landfall is when the center of the eye makes landfall. And so that hasn't happened yet. So technically it has not, but the edge of that is right there. So within the next half hour, we'll definitely be in that category going forward, and we'll continue to watch that for you. Pulling out a little bit, look at this. This whole rotation is where the problems are going to be lying in. All of this area getting caught by the surge and the wind and the rain, and the direction is going to continue as this whole system moves up to the north. This will continue to be in place, and that's where New Orleans is. New Orleans is 60 miles to the north, and this rotation will be happening here. The Mississippi Channel here, Lake Pontchartrain here, New Orleans here, and of course the pumps and the levee system. They hope and they pray that everything that they've done since Katrina will hold things up. But this is going to be going on for several hours. You can see Brandon holding on to a pole. This is not even the strongest winds yet, but it is, as I said, 50 miles out, hurricane force winds, 75 miles an hour winds, 50 miles out, tropical storm force winds 150 miles out going forward. So we continue to watch that, and we know that all the way up to near Hattiesburg, Mississippi, is where the tropical storm force winds will be in play, and that's part of what this storm's uniqueness is. It's a broad storm, and so now we'll continue to look where Grand Isle is, and we see that trend going forward here. Wind, gusts, right now, Houma, 45-mile-an-hour gusts being picked up. New Orleans gusting 30 miles an hour. I guarantee that's bumping up to a bit higher than that from time to time. We will continue to see that as the storm moves on inland. These numbers will be going up. Baton Rouge is going to be higher as well. Tropical storm force winds, all of this area is going to be involved in this, going up to Mississippi over the next several hours, and especially in New Orleans, the hurricane force winds there will be in play going forward. This is a model. Forecast the wind speeds. Obviously, this purple corresponds to 130 to 156 miles an hour. That's where we are right now. It's sliding on inland, and for the farther we go out, we're talking about 96 to 110, 74 to 95, and then 40, 73 is a light blue color. Put this in motion for you a little bit, going for later on this afternoon, going to 4 o'clock or so. You notice the strongest winds are up to the north, Slidell, north of New Orleans. But remember, the rotation is like this. And so New Orleans doesn't catch a break really from this because of the direction of the storm. The winds around it will make sure that New Orleans will stay in a lot of heavy wind over the next several hours going forward. Now, it does move on up. By the time we get to 7 o'clock, to August of the winds start to diminish as the center of the storm moves on land. It loses the energy that is provided by the Gulf of Mexico. And so we start to see those wind speeds dying down, and we will continue to see that happening going forward. But in the meantime, our look is what we have the FUTURECAST model here. We put this in motion, and you notice by 3 o'clock this afternoon, we still have a lot of rotation here. Heavy rainfall going around New Orleans all the way out to Slidell, Biloxi, Hammond, Baton Rouge, that I-10 corridor there, really heavily impacted by all of this, even through 8 o'clock tonight. That's why they told people yesterday to get out. If they hadn't already gotten out, stay put. And so we're seeing some of that going up to Hattiesburg tomorrow, very early tomorrow morning, before the storm moves on up. For Monday morning, we start to see some breaks. They'll be able to go back out and see what's going on, see what some of the damage has been going forward. This is a different model that shows the heaviest rain a little bit farther to the east than the model we had yesterday that showed it to the west. Doesn't matter. We're still talking about really heavy rainfall and strong winds as a part of all of this. While that's going on there, look what's going on outside. Herman Park looks nice. And that's the difference between what's going on there. They've got that rotation around. We've got the sinking air on our side. So now we have those mid to upper 80s. We'll be close to mid 90s before it's all said and done. But we keep our attention on those folks to the east because they've got many, many more hours to go. And we'll be back here throughout the day giving you updates on what they're dealing with going forward as well. Sophia? Definitely
we'll be thinking of our friends and our families just east of us in Louisiana for sure. And of course, we'll have another update coming up at noon right here on clicktohouston.com. Until then, stay up to date on our website, click2houston.com, our app, and Facebook and Twitter. We'll see you again soon.